social entrepreneur, starting 11 years ago a project called Segundo Mundo, as the alternative world to the first, third, and fourth world, which is like the world in which everyone can live in freedom and dignity. It's like an utopia, you know? And so I like very much to do trainings and classes in different universities. And I'm a consultant in the domain specifically of sustainable tourism and gastronomy. I have my favorite projects are also related to Barcelona, working together with the ecosystem of tourism in the Raval neighborhood with a third sector foundation, Fundació Tot Raval, and another project with the district of Sants-Montjuïc in Barcelona, where I also assessed and try to do that the tourism has a better impact in the territory, in the communities. Engaging all the agents, no, to raise this awareness towards sustainability. We are going to see, not in a boring way, but the key concepts that you absolutely need to know and to see the links between these concepts. Because we are talking about more or less the same, but explaining those concepts from different perspectives. We have the sustainability, we have the business ethics, we have the corporate social responsibility, we have the circular economy, and we have the compliance. So these are concepts that are linked and we are going to understand better related to this activism that we have spoken before. Do you know this lady? No. This lady was the Prime Minister of Norway. In 1987, in the United Nations, he said, if we continue producing this way, we are not sustainable. If the economy is running this way, we are not going to be sustainable. So here, when it comes for the first time, the term of sustainable development. In her report called Our Common Future, or the Brundtland report, which is her name, Gro Harlem Brundtland. She's still alive. This was in 1987. So this is just, no? Some years ago, 40 years ago. I mean, it's not a long history about sustainability. So it's a quite new trend, but obviously every day becomes more and more relevant for our future. So what is the definition of sustainability? You will see that here it's a very simple definition. We can find in the academia many, many definitions. This one is the one that was taken from this report. So what means sustainability? That I can live in dignity, I can cover my essential needs without compromising that the future generations can also cover their needs. But what is the need? No? Having internet is the need? This is the discussion. This is just in general terms. So I would say that the future generation can breathe, can have the food that they need, can live in a proper way, in dignity, etc. Have you ever heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, I imagine? The global agenda, no? The global agenda, these 17 goals, which is something that applies to everyone, as individuals, as an organizations, whoever and whatever organizations, governments around the world, the developed and the in developing world. I don't like very much these concepts, developing and developed, but no. But this is an agenda that it's going to be part of our credo, no? We want a world without poverty. But when we do a class sometimes only related to Agenda 2030, we do an exercise which is, let's classify these sustainable development goals, because if we have poverty, it's the consequence of doing something or doing things in a particular way. Poverty, it's a cause, but poverty, it's a consequence. So when we have done this exercise in many groups, we have seen these distinctions here. We have goals that are causes. For example, if we pay under the living wage, we generate poverty, no? For example. If we produce, consume, or invest in a non-responsible way, we generate poverty. If we do a lot of emissions to the atmosphere, and then we have these climate refugees, we generate poverty in particular areas of the world. So at the end of the day, what we have seen is that there is 4 goals that are key facilitators of the global agenda. And these 4 goals are these ones. Education, what you are doing here, to train yourself, to learn, to make a research, to get the information in the right sources. Alliances, like this course, which is an alliance between different schools in Europe. No? You cannot solve the agenda you on your own. You need to do your partnerships of all kinds. Universities, governments, NGOs, enterprises. This is going to work. Alliances. Gender equality, as women can no longer be excluded, and as women also as this feminine energy that really cares, no? This capacity of caring, no? Of giving this aim for, no? Helping. This is the feminine energy that I call. They have men and women. And the responsible consumption, production, and if everyone buys, consumes, and produces, and invests, because investing is not here, but the question of investing is super important, then all the other goals would be solved. Because if you do it in a responsible and sustainable way, that means that you respect the atmosphere, you respect nature, you respect landscape, destinations, whatever. So this is a key aspect. A key aspect. And then we have the consequences. If we do things in a bad way, we have these consequences here. We have pollution, we have poverty, we have non-sustainable communities, etc. From our point of view, the approach to sustainability is the opposite of the approach to poverty. You work towards sustainable development, or you work towards poverty nowadays. We are seeing in many cities in Europe, I don't know in your particular own cities, but here in Barcelona, for example, and in many capitals in Europe, every time we have more people sleeping in the streets, for example. Homeless people. People that cannot afford or having more children because it's too expensive, for example. So we have more poverty in general terms. And because also the wealth is it's very concentrated in less hands as the economy moves in this way. No? Biggest companies and the small companies have to close because they cannot compete. So the question of buying, no? Local commerce, locally, kilometer zero, etc. Do you know what is the main cause of poverty? What do you think is the main cause of poverty and misery and injustice in the world? I tell you, corruption. I'm happy that you are not very used to this concept, but you need to know that corruption is the main cause of poverty, desperation, and injustice in the world. Through corruption, you can invest many, many millions of trillions of euros, and if you are corrupted, you lose everything. You are stealing everything to the population. So being sustainable is being uncorrupted. And for corruption, in particular countries where you risk your life, because in Europe, fortunately, normally you don't risk your life, but in many countries you risk your life, you have to work in alliance with strong actors in the place to face corruption, or strong NGOs that work against corruption. This was said by Peter Inger, which is the founder of Transparency International, because he was a high commissioner in United Nations in Kenya, and he said, all what we are investing serves to nothing because it's corrupted. So he has left the United Nations and started the project of Transparency International. And corruption is the cause of wars, under corruption we have many, many aspects. Minerals, raw materials, conflicts. Do you know what is the golden rule of ethics? Rule which is common in all the areas of the world, all wisdom traditions in the world, all religions in the world. We share the same golden rule of ethics. For this, you have to put in the shoes of the others, and the situation of others, to try to find out, in case of dilemma, which is the less harming. Because sometimes you have to, not to create a negative impact in some stakeholder, but you have to do this effort. You have to see what is the consequences of your decisions. I like very much this definition because it's so simple. It's the values that if everyone was putting in practice, the world will become an easy place to live and a better place to live. So you see that it's so simple, the definition of ethical values. So you have to incorporate these ethical values in our corporate culture, in our restaurants, in our organizations, in our day-to-day life. As people, as individuals, as members of an organization, workers, etc. Last concept is the compliance that we have seen. That means comply with the law. It's the minimum that we have to do. And here is like this, to sum up, no? We have compliance, different compliance according to the countries, especially the ones that have less, institutions that are weak, for example, and the question of complying with the law, it's really very, very low level. We have the responsibility, the corporate social responsibility starts when it finishes the law. I want to do it better. I want to pay better, not because of the law, because the law permits me to pay 1,000 euro, but I want these people to stay and to have the possibility to live in the neighborhood, etc., and I decide to pay more, for example. The question of the remuneration policy, that it's called the success sharing. Success sharing, that means that if the company goes well, you share this success with all employees. Responsibility, and then ethics and sustainable development, which is every dilemma, every situation, world is moving, society is changing, new challenges and new opportunities. So we have to always be in the mood of learning, interacting, sharing, and finding out how to tackle all these aspects that we see here. So at the end of the day, another question to sum up, we have the values, the ethical approach, our values as individuals and as professionals. We have the social responsibility, how we put in practice these values with our responsibility in the world, and what is the goal to be sustainable for future generations, for the planet.